I want you to stop searching for a moment. Stop reaching. Stop straining your eyes toward a horizon that keeps moving. I want you to be still just for this moment and consider the possibility that what you've been looking for has never once left you, that the very thing you have been chasing, the life you dream of, the version of yourself you long to become, is not ahead of you. It is within you. It has always been within you, not as a potential, not as a possibility, but as a present reality waiting to be claimed. You see, most people walk through life convinced that they must earn their transformation, that they must suffer enough, work hard enough, sacrifice enough, and only then will the universe reward them with the life they desire. But I tell you, this is the deepest error a person can make, not because effort is no place, but because you have mistaken the effect for the cause. You have been laboring to change a reflection without ever once touching the mirror. The mirror is your inner world. The reflection is everything you see outside of you. There is a principle older than language, deeper than philosophy, woven into the very fabric of existence. And that principle is this: whatever you are in consciousness, you are in life. Whatever you accept as true about yourself in the deepest chamber of your being must become your outer experience. Not might become, must become. It is not a suggestion. It is a law by which all things are arranged. So the question you must ask yourself is not, how do I get the life I want? The question is, who am I assuming myself to be? I once spoke with a young man who came to me tormented by lack. He had tried everything the world had told him to try. He had studied, applied, positioned, and still found himself standing in the same small room of his existence, wondering why the door would not open. He said to me, "I have done the work. Why is nothing changing?" And I looked at him and I said, "Tell me, when you imagine your future, who do you see standing in it?" He paused, confused, and then slowly he said, "I see a better version of me, someone who finally made it." And there was the wound. There was the error. He was always imagining himself as someone who had not yet arrived, someone still in the process of becoming. And because he was faithful to that inner image, life faithfully reflected it back to him. The becoming never completed because he never allowed himself to be the thing he desired to become. I told him, "You must stop seeing yourself as one who is working toward the life. You must begin to see yourself as one for whom the life is already the case." That shift, small as it sounds, is everything. It is the turning point between a life lived in hope and a life lived in power. Now I know what the rational mind wants to say. It wants to say, "But it isn't real yet. I cannot pretend that something is true when it isn't." And to that I say, you have it backwards. You do not declare something true because it has appeared. You declare it true because you are the one who causes appearances. Your inner conviction is the seed. The outer world is the harvest. You do not wait for the harvest to believe in the seed. You plant in faith. You water with feeling. And you trust the law. For the law does not fail. The law has never failed. The law cannot fail. What you persistently assume in the deep, feeling center of your being will externalize itself in your world. This is not philosophy. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operating principle of consciousness itself. As within, so without. As above, so below. Heaven is not a location. It is a state. And the moment you inhabit that state in full, the world around you reshapes itself to honor it. Think carefully now. Think about every breakthrough you have ever experienced. Was it not preceded by a shift in how you saw yourself? Before the relationship came, did you not stop believing you were unlovable? Before the opportunity arrived, did you not stop apologizing for your ambitions? Before the healing began, did you not somewhere acquire your heart decide that you were worth being whole? You see, you have already done this. You have already proven the law. You simply did not recognize it as the operative principle. You called it luck. You called it timing. You called it things finally falling into place. But I assure you, what fell into place was your assumption. The work, then, is not out there. The work is always in here. And this work is not laborious. It does not require you to white-knuckle your way through doubt. It does not require perfection. What it requires is willingness. The willingness to choose a different inner conversation. The willingness to try on the feeling of already being who you desire to be. The willingness to walk into a room not as one who hopes to be received, but as one who knows they belong. You ask, what does it feel like to already be there? Close your eyes and find it. Not an imagination as fantasy, but an imagination as instruction. Feel what it would feel like if you knew with absolute certainty that you were already the person living the life you desire. Feel the ease in your chest, the loosening of your jaw, the stillness that replaces urgency, the absence of grasping. That feeling is not a reward at the end of the road. That feeling is the road itself. It is the prayer. It is the instruction you give to the law. And the law, faithful as gravity, must respond. There's a woman I knew years ago who had spent decades in the story of her unworthiness. She had been told in childhood that she was too much and not enough all at once. Too loud, not smart enough. Too bold, not pretty enough. And she had taken those words and built a prison with them, brick by brick, until her entire life was arranged to confirm what she had been told. Relationships that diminished her, work that underutilized her, a body that carried the weight of years of self-rejection. But one day she did something radical. She decided to test the law. She said to herself, not with certainty at first, but with the willingness to try, what if I am already enough? What if I have always been enough and simply forgot? She began to live from that question, and then from the answer. She stopped waiting for permission to take up space. She stopped shrinking. She began to assume her value, not because circumstances had confirmed it yet, but because she chose to claim it as her starting point. And within months, her entire world transformed. The relationships changed. The career opened. Her body released what it had been holding. People around her began to reflect her new inner image back to her. She had not changed the world. She had changed herself. And the world had no choice but to follow. This is not a small thing I am offering you. This is the master key. This is the turning of the lock. But here is what most do not realize. You're already living by this law. Right now, without exception, every experience you are having, every pattern that repeats in your life, every door that keeps opening, and every wall that keeps appearing, these are all the harvest of your assumption. They are not random. They are not punishment. They are not fate. They are the perfect and impartial reflection of your dominant inner state. The law has no favorites. It does not care whether your assumption is one of joy or sorrow. It simply reflects. If you assume you are lucky, life reflects luck. If you assume you are overlooked, life reflects invisibility. The law is equal in its application, and that, once you truly grasp it, is the most liberating truth you will ever encounter, because it means nothing is beyond your reach. Nothing is permanently fixed. No circumstance is too old, no pattern too deeply rooted, no wound too ancient to be reversed by a new assumption held in conviction and feeling. What would you assume if you dared? What version of yourself would you inhabit if you believed the law was real? Would you walk with your shoulders back? Would you speak your truth without apology? Would you make the call, take the leap, begin the thing you have been postponing? You would, and so you must. Not tomorrow, when you feel ready. Not when the evidence presents itself. Now, from this breath, from this very moment, there is a state available to you right now. A state where you are not waiting. A state where you are not reaching. A state where you are simply being fully, abundantly, joyfully, the one who has what you desire. That state is not earned. It is not awarded after sufficient suffering. It is chosen. It is assumed. It is entered the way you enter a room, by walking to the door and standing in the space that is already there. The outer world is slow to catch up sometimes. It has its own momentum. The harvest does not always come the day after planting. But this I promise you, if you do not waver in your inner knowing, if you hold a state with the quiet confidence of one who simply knows, the outer world will catch up. It must. It is law. The only question is whether you will still be standing in your assumption when it arrives, or whether you'll have abandoned it 10 steps before the breakthrough. Do not abandon it. Do you understand what a thought is? A thought held in feeling is not a whisper into the void. It is a command issued to the creative intelligence that forms all things. Imagination is not idle play. Imagination is the workshop of God. When you imagine yourself clearly, vividly, with emotional depth, as the person you desire to be, you are not daydreaming. You are legislating. You are writing the next chapter of your life in the only language that creation understands. the language of feeling, conviction, and assumption. I say to you, do not wait to be convinced by the outer world. The outer world is always showing you what you have already assumed. If you want to see something different, assume something different. First, before the evidence, before the confirmation, before the proof. Assume first, and then watch how faithfully life follows. Some will hear this and call it naive. Let them. The one who calls faith naive has simply not yet gathered enough courage to test it. You need not argue with them. You need not convince anyone of the truth you have discovered. Simply live it. Simply demonstrate it. For there is no argument more eloquent than a life transformed by inner conviction. Others will hear this and feel a quiet stirring in their chest, a recognition, as though something dormant is waking. That stirring is your deeper self saying, yes, this is it. This is what I came to remember. If you are feeling that stirring, do not dismiss it. Honor it. Let it guide you back to the truth you have always known at some level but been afraid to claim. You are not a fragment of life. You are not a passenger in someone else's story. You are the dreamer of your own dream. Every detail of your experience is cast in the mold of your inner world, and at any moment, you are free to reshape that mold, not with force, not with strain, with assumption, with the quiet authority of one who has decided who they are and will not be talked out of it by appearances. So begin now. Choose the state. Find the feeling. The feeling of already being the one who is loved deeply and freely. The feeling of already being the one whose work matters and whose gifts are recognized. The feeling of already being the one whose body is vital and whole. The feeling of already being the one whose finances are a river, not a drought. Whatever you have been waiting to feel until the circumstances confirm it, feel it now, before the confirmation, as the cause of the confirmation, and carry that feeling with you through the hours of your day. Return to it when you drift. Refresh it when it fades. Make it your inner atmosphere the way the sky holds weather. Not grasped at, but inhabited. Breathe in, live from. When something arises that appears to contradict your assumption, do not panic. Do not collapse. Simply say to yourself, this is not the end of the story. I know who I am. I know what is true. The law is working. And then return to the state, not through white-knuckling, but through remembering, through breathing and returning, through the practice of coming home to your inner knowing again and again until it becomes the most natural thing in the world. Because this is the ultimate discipline, not the discipline of doing more or striving harder. The discipline of maintaining your inner state, the discipline of not giving the outer world the authority to determine your inner world, the discipline of being the cause, always, never merely the effect. And as you practice, something extraordinary will happen. You will begin to notice that ease is not the exception. It is your natural state when you are aligned. Things will come to you with less friction. People will appear in your life who carry the exact energy your new assumption requires. Situations will rearrange themselves in ways you could not have orchestrated with 1,000 plans. Because you are not orchestrating. You are assuming. An intelligence that runs through all things is orchestrating on your behalf. You were never meant to figure it all out. You were never meant to map every step of the journey. You were meant to know the destination from within, to feel it as already yours, and then to walk forward in faith while life constructs a bridge beneath your feet. This is the ancient secret. This is the truth the mystics encoded in symbol and parable. Ask and it is given. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened, not as a plea, not as a desperate request, but as an assumption of what is already true. To ask in the truest sense is to assume. To seek in the truest sense is to know what you are looking for is already there. To knock is to approach the door with a conviction that it opens for you. And it does. It always has. It always will. Because you are not a beggar before the throne of life. You are the throne. You are the authority. You are the one in whom all creative power rests. Not partially. Fully. Not someday. Now. Act from that knowing. Speak from that knowing. Stand in rooms. Make decisions. Love people. Do your work from that knowing. And watch. With the quiet wonder of one who has finally remembered their own name, as the world bows what you have chosen to be, you are already the answer. You always have been. All that remained was for you to believe it deeply enough to live it. And now you do.